This episode of Ouzo Talk is proudly brought to you by the Kalymnian Association of New South Wales. Search for the Kalymnian Association of New South Wales on Facebook to find out more. There's no Ouzo Talk without a bottle of Ouzo, which is why we love the Greek Providor. Get a real taste of the very best produce that Greece has to offer. From olive oils and delicious artisan sweets, to unique spirits, earthy herbs and memorable wines. Visit thegreekprovidor.com.au to see their amazing range. The Greek Providor, proud sponsors of the Ouzo Talk podcast.
Sound is.
And we're back. Nick Athanasiou, we are back for another episode of Ouzo Talk, and we are talking about another destination that we can all be very proud of in Greece. We're here to talk about Kalymnos, aren't we?
We are, mate, and what a place. We've got a lot of people that we know from Kalymnos as well. But more importantly, how good is our little podcast going?
It's not going too badly, is it?
I don't think we're little anymore. We've hit like 117 countries.
Well, that's the debatable part, isn't it?
It is.
We're going to talk about this.
Well, the stats say 117, but technically, I think Turkey's mentioned there twice, and Russia's mentioned there twice because they've changed their names.
Okay, so it's really 115, which is nothing to be sneered at, is it?
No, not at all, mate. We are growing with every episode. So congratulations to you, mate. We haven't mentioned it in a while, but we are growing, and thank you to all the people out there, all the feedback we're getting as well. So you guys are champions. Thanks for telling everyone about our show.
Definitely. And mate, who would have thought? Seriously, you and I, two bullfeds just walking up and down Brighton Beach talking crap. And now it's in 100. I mean, we were cheering when it was in like 20 countries, and it's in 115, let's say.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. No, look, cheers to me and you, mate, and everyone out there. It's the community podcast, all us Greeks.
What was that thing that Radio Arvila said when they were talking about us? Τώρα που ευλογούμε τα γένια μας, I think it was.
You'll have to translate.
Yeah. I don't know how you would translate that properly, but basically it's, now that we're blowing smoke up our ass, let's say.
Classic. But in saying that, Kalymnos, what a great island. We hear a lot about it, but there's a lot of pressure on the two boys here today to really talk about this island because there's such a passionate lot of people here.
Absolutely. We've got so many good friends from there. I got a quick shout out to the Tengaras family who are massive Rabbitohs supporters, and we love them. Pedro, Mike, Katina, the whole family. Huge Rabbitohs fans, obviously from my perspective, very important.
Yeah, but they're everywhere. Like I was telling Michael this morning, I bumped into a Michael at Coles this morning, going a bit of shopping literally this morning. And he's from Kalymnos.
Yeah.
Yeah, so his son is Billy Magoulias, played first grade rugby league for the Sharks. So little did he know he's going to get a mention on the podcast this morning. You look like you needed a coffee, by the way. It was really early.
Is that right?
We just got out of bed.
Very good. Well, look, as you mentioned, we do have a couple of people here who are Kalymnian. How could you do an episode like this without a couple, right?
That's right. Very proud Kalymnians. And like I said, boys, no pressure.
All right.
Kalymnians all around the world will be listening to this. Saying, what? They didn't mention this. They said that.
He's just heaping it on. Seriously.
No, I'm sure you guys do a great job.
Well, we do. We do have George Karantonis here, who wears many hats in this community. Obviously a very proud member of the Greek Australian community here. He is a singer, among other things. He is a business owner. He is the creative director of the Evzons collection. What else do you do, mate? Fair income.
Firstly, Yassas boys. How are we?
Wonderful.
Excellent.
I'm very grateful to have got the call up. I feel like I've earned the Guernsey after the numerous conversations that we've had about the potential episodes that we could have done, but now we've narrowed it down to the Kalymnian I guess link back or tie back, which is great. Yeah, among many other things. What do? I'm the secretary of the Kalymnian Association of New South Wales. I've been the secretary of the Kalymnian Association of New South Wales for approximately 7 or 8 years now. We've achieved some crazy good things for the community and through the hard work of the committee and its people. We've also, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I go, rather, there's the musical side of things as well. I just finished touring with Dimitris Bassis doing Mikis Theodorakis' Axionesti.
With George Ellis, let's
yes, of course,
yes. A great friend of the show.
Yeah, master conductor and master human as well.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Well said.
Yeah, so that was a great experience in Brisbane, in Melbourne, and obviously here in Sydney as well. I was very honoured to have been called up to carry the part of the cantor. As you guys might be aware, Mikis Theodorakis' Axionisti is not for the faint-hearted as far as
Definitely
musical.
not.
Yeah, it's quite difficult, and lyrically, musically, all that sort of stuff. It's that's why they call it, I guess, a masterpiece.
100%.
Can you give us a few bars, mate?
Yeah, sure. What I'll do is I'll direct you onto YouTube where.
See, that's how a professional does it, Nick.
Well done, mate. Well done.
He thought he was putting you on the spot for a second.
Yes. No, the
That's
thing
a
is,
great flick pass.
Yeah.
That's it's so hard that even if you were to sort of try and do a couple of bars, for example, it's not exactly the most melodic thing that you'll hear unless it's accompanied by the orchestra and the choir, because it's written around that, really. It's just an excellent opportunity that was given to me, and I was so grateful to have done it and been able to pull it off.
Yeah, well done, mate. Look, you're very humble. Look, I've heard you sing. You're actually a great singer. And you've actually sung the national anthem for so many events in the community as well.
Yes.
So very proud Kalymnian and Greek, mate. So it's
Wherever
good to
I
have you here.
can, if I get the call up to help the Greek community at large, I will certainly be there to help it. Yeah.
Mate, how good is his voice, Tom? Eh?
I'm thrilled to have it on
Mate,
this
what
podcast.
a great radio voice.
You know what you just reminded me of? Because, I play pubs and clubs on weekends, You just reminded me of one of those fuckers who will come up to me and be like, do you know this song? Can you play this? I don't play it. Oh, just play a few bars, you know it. It's okay, mate. Just
But what about those guys who follow you live and write comments on your live feed saying, hey, can you play this song? Can you play that one? Do you remember that at all?
You've had this more than I have.
No, that was me doing it to you.
Oh, to me? Yes.
Don't you remember? You're at a
go.
gig somewhere, you'd gone live, and I'm sitting there throwing requests.
He's
your
right,
way.
actually. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Motherfucker.
You're very good, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
I
It's
watched
not
the
about
whole
me.
show.
Oh, did you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, you could stand it. Jeez.
It was great.
Well, look, we do have another person in the room, and possibly more important, right, George?
Oh, in every way, shape, and form.
El Presidente.
That's right. The president of the Kalymnian Association here in New South Wales, right?
That's correct.
So, Michael Melas, welcome to Ouzo Talk.
Welcome,
Thank you for having me.
Mate.
I don't have a silky voice like George, though. It's a little bit more.
No, you've got a good voice too, mate.
I think that's pretty
It's
good.
a pretty good voice. And he's got a
Very
silky beard as well. Silky beard.
He's got
Thanks
a bit
for
of
having us, guys.
the silver fox aspect of it. So, women who are listening in, mate, he is a good-looking man. Let's be honest.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to the yummers.
Cheers, boys.
Well, look,
well done.
we have a fantastic group of people here to execute this episode of the podcast, don't we, Nick?
We do, mate. It's going to be a great podcast. Look, they brought in some goodies, so I'm not sure what's going on here, Tom, but
I'm scared.
But the tables are turned possibly on us.
I'm very scared. So,
Don't be scared.
well, look, before we
We're
get into
normally in control of these things, but
know.
we're taking a back step here.
well, this is what happens when you've got George involved.
Well,
Right.
anything can happen, right?
That's
With
right.
me around. And as soon as I realised that I was going to be on the episode talking about Kalymnos, I said to Michael, we've got to take them some Spinello. Now,
Jesus
Spinello
Christ.
is very hard to find. In fact, you can't find it here. The only way to get that into the country is by importing it yourself, smuggling it basically in your luggage, and
Was that
and,
you,
and
Michael?
hoping customs won't stop you along the way and say, "What is that?" Because good luck explaining it.
So
Well,
whose
I had a
ass did
fight
that
with
come
my
in?
wife to get this little bit
Yes.
into the episode.
Yeah, you would have.
All right.
Yeah, so thank you, Sylvia.
Well,
thank you,
thank
Sylvia,
you.
for allowing us to take a little bit of that Spinello and give it
there's-
to the boys to try.
There's plenty coming up. So
There is.
let's do a quick introduction. It's time for a drink, don't you reckon?
Yeah, definitely, Tom. Let's have a drink. Cheers, boys.
Stini Yamas.
I'm sorry about the cough. That's something I just can't.
That's okay, mate. It is winter here in Sydney.
Everyone is sick at the moment,
I've
really.
been sick for over a month.
And you've got kids as well, young kids, and you know, let's be honest. I mean, it's a bit of a petri dish, isn't it, when it comes to school and childcare and all those types of things. We know this very well. So, Nikolaki, what are we drinking today?
Surprise, surprise, we're back on the 35N again, the light and vibrant Ouzo 35N. So we've had it in a few episodes now. There's a good reason why we have it, isn't it, Tom?
After that Ouzo episode that we did, where we drank 14 bottles, let's say, let's not be...
14 bottles?
14 bottles of Ouzo.
Between how many people?
4 people.
Oh, we didn't have bottles. We tried 14 bottles. We didn't have all of them.
But let's be honest, most of the bottles were gone.
We had at least 14
Wow.
drinks.
Wow.
We
Why am I
tested
at this episode and wasn't it that one?
Yeah, don't know.
You can be on the next one.
But there is talk, there's rumblings of another episode.
Along similar lines, let's say.
Very good.
We can mention it. Yeah. Probably going to be with Tsipro.
Yeah.
We're going to do a Tsipro version.
Oh, yeah.
Tsipro, Tsikudia, Rakia version. But we'll see how we go. Good. Anyway.
It's going to be dangerous.
Thank you to the Greek Providor again. They're awesome people that are Ouzo. So we have run out. So Crystal will be paying you a visit shortly. So
fantastic.
So the bottle you gave us originally did dry up, unfortunately, and we've had guests bring some for us. You know, the same brand, but we need some more. Don't we, Tom?
Definitely. Well, and thank you very much to our sponsors at the Greek Providor. If you need anything like that, premium stuff. I mean, the Ouzo, the Tsipuro, there's even whiskies now, isn't there, Nick?
There is, mate. They don't miss. Everything they've brought over, quality. So we don't need to go to Greece and smuggle that stuff back now. We can just get it here through the front door. You know?
Thank you, Crystal, for turning us into raging alcoholics. TheGreekProvidor.com.au, guys. Make sure you check it out. But fantastic to have you guys on board. And
they are.
Guys,
talk to us. Kalymnos. Actually, before we start, let's talk about, let's start with Michael. Let's talk about your ancestors first. So, were you born here or?
I was born here. My parents arrived in Australia in
just before we go, I heard your dad passed away recently, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, Paul. What was your dad's name?
Sakiladis, a very Kalymnian name.
Sakiladis.
Charlie.
Well, commiserations, mate. But look, I think we had a chat before. We're actually going to dedicate this episode to your dad, mate. So
good on you. Well, then my dad liked Ouzo, so I think you'd be chuffed.
Did he?
Yes.
Well,
here's to him.
To your dad, Charlie.
Good on you.
Fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
To
wasn't expecting that.
Theo Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So tell it, where was Charlie born? And
Charlie was born in Kalymnos, 1943, to working class parents in the valley of Vathi. Limited schooling, like most people that had that story, you know what I mean. Just went to primary school, had to work. He probably doesn't know it, but we can vouch for it. Kalymnos got hit hard by the Germans during the Second World War, and my dad was actually baptised in the River Jordan. So he was a Second World War refugee with his family. So as a baby, he doesn't remember that, obviously, or he wouldn't have. But he got baptised in the River Jordan. After the Second World War, the family went back to Kalymnos, but it was tough.
Yeah.
So your grandparents left Kalymnos because of the war, and where did they
go? My
to?
parents did.
Oh, your parents
and my grandparents. No.
So your grandparents would have taken your dad.
Absolutely, yes, they did.
So where's the River Jordan?
River Jordan, it separates what was known as Palestine at the time.
Okay.
Maybe another episode.
Yep.
So Palestinian refugees.
And your grandparents, were they born in Kalymnos as well?
They were. Grandparents were born in Kalymnos.
How far back do you go? What about great-grandparents?
Okay, funny story. 2 of my great-grandparents are actually buried in Botany, although they were born in Kalymnos. Yeah, we've got 3 generations in Botany now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Great-grandparents now. Okay,
yes.
So when did they come out?
That's a unique story for him.
In the 60s, in the 60s, but they would have been of age, you know what I mean? They would have been a little bit older than most of the, the muscle that came out in the 60s in that wave.
Okay.
Mum came out at the same time, but Dad's story is a little bit more diverse. Cane cutting in Queensland, fruit picking in Victoria. Always worked with his brothers. Ended up settling in Sydney when they could. Met Mum.
There you go.
Had 5 kids. The rest is history.
So was the deal back then that they needed to do? So I think I heard from one of our other guests. Maybe it was like 5 years that they needed to do before they could actually move wherever they wanted to.
I don't think that was the case because we've got.
Because there was a quota, is my understanding, for the amount of time he had to spend.
Well, although Dad landed in Sydney, in his immigration paperwork, he was already noted as going to Queensland.
Right.
To Innisfail,
right,
cane cutting region. So he was earmarked for Queensland. Although he landed in Sydney, there was already connections in Queensland. My Uncle Con was there. So, straight into it. 17 years old, one of the toughest jobs. We've got some old photos. It looked tough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back-breaking.
We've mentioned it a couple of times on the episode. So a lot of Greeks up there. Everyone thought
such
they
a
were
common story.
Italian owners, but they're actually Greek owners, and they anglicised their names as well. So fantastic. So your great-grandparents, they would have been around 1900. They were born in Kalymnos.
They were born in late 19th century. I was only there the other day, obviously. I think 1894, 1892. But, they emigrated with their kids.
Okay.
And they're here.
So they weren't part of the migration from Asia Minor that came over. They were originally from Kalymnos.
All this is post-World War II.
Wow, far out.
And what about yourself, George?
Yeah, well, Dad came out in 1955. He was 19 years of age. He was forced to roam due to desperate times in Kalymnos financially. Had a sickly brother, and whom I'm named after, actually, my Uncle George, who passed away at the ripe old age of 23.
Wow.
And so, Dad was sort of, sent over to Australia to try to gather some funds and help support the family, to support late Uncle George. So up until recently, we had no idea what our heritage or our story or lineage was. But with thanks to an historian in Kalymnos, who's doing a bit of a story on the Karantonis name, and her name is Kyrie Irini Galanou. We've discovered that in the late 1700s, we were actually from Crete with the surname Benakis. We migrated from Crete and went to Mani. And from Mani, the Karantonises were very much into teaching and all that sort of stuff. And during the resistance, it didn't matter whether you were the resistance movement. This is 1821. It didn't matter whether you were a doctor, a solicitor, a lawyer, whatever it was, a teacher. You got the call up, and you just went and tried to defend your country, and get its freedom back. So a proin papu of ours, Adoni, his name was, who happened to be a mutso, which is like a 2IC in Bubulina's fleet, believe it or not.
Shit.
Yes.
Story.
He left from Mani and started fighting in the Black Sea, Asia Minor and all that sort of stuff. And his fleet was bombarded, and he became what we know as Adartis.
Yes.
He was an Adarti. Luckily, he was one of the few who survived the bombardment against the Ottoman Empire at the time. Yeah, and this guy, desperate times call for desperate measures, and he would just slaughter anything that was Turkish in order to try to get their freedom. Whether it was a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, it didn't matter. They were desperate times, and it sounds quite barbaric, but on the contrary, they were actually fighting barbarians at the time to try to get their civilized freedom back. At that point, our name was changed from Benakis to Theodorakis, believe it or not. God's gift, I guess.
Yeah.
And but then the locals, the Turkish locals, started calling that proin papu of mine Adoni, Black Tony, which is Karadoni.
Yeah.
From there,
that surname stuck.
That surname stuck. That Paratsukli stuck.
So is this your grandfather now?
Great grandfather.
And then they went to
We're talking about the
Kalymnos.
resistance movement, 1821, with Bubulina.
Wow, so that's like at least 2 or 3 greats.
Yes.
And they ended up in Kalymnos.
In Kalymnos, yes. Again, obviously, after losing Asia Minor.
What a story.
Mate, I got to ask you, what does it mean for you to know the story in that sort of detail? What does it mean for you, and what does it mean I mean, you've got young kids as well. How does it make you feel trying to impart that story to your kids?
That was a very abbreviated version, and I'm sorry, it was already
fantastic.
long enough.
Do an whole episode on this.
But what I'm trying to say is there's a lot more to it than that little brief snapshot that I've given you guys. But how does it make me feel? Okay, we've all got history in Greece. It doesn't matter whether you're from the north, the south, the east, the west, whether you're an islander or a mainlander. The history's there. And as long as we don't forget the history, as long as we don't, even if it is just, amongst your own personal families, talk about it, discuss it, keep it alive. Because
100%.
These are the things that set us apart from the rest of the world.
Yep.
These are stories that are unique to us and belong to us. And therefore, as custodians of these stories, we've got to make sure that they stay alive.
And that's something that we've been speaking about so often on this podcast. We need to own these stories.
Yeah.
Not only own them, we need to tell these stories to each other to keep them alive. It's exactly what you've just said.
Yeah.
Really well said, George.
I agree. Thank you.
No, 100%, mate. And I was going to say, how does that make you feel? Your ancestors are part of the liberation of Greece.
Yeah. Well, I guess you probably don't know it, but your ancestors probably were as well.
Yep.
This is the thing. We're just fortunate enough to have somebody who looked into our surname and discovered a few things. Michael, you wanted to say something?
Melas is an important surname as well, but I'm not going to link it to Pavlos Melas by any stretch, okay?
Which was going to be one of my questions.
Okay.
Can if you like.
No, not true.
Tell us about your surname.
Surname, it's a bit of a coin toss. Melas simply could be taken as people that might have worked with honey, meli, melas. But I'm of the opinion it goes a little bit further back than that, and melas is a term taken from the word black as well. So there's similarities there, George. As we get the name melanoma or melani, stuff like that. So it could have been a surname given to someone who perhaps was, I hate to say it, maybe a slave trader, or someone who did work that made them black, and they were black. Melas.
Okay.
Take it any way you like.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And did your dad come on the Patris by any chance? How did you get to Australia?
No, he didn't. He came on an Italian sounding ship. The name
Skagum?
escapes him. No.
Not Skagum.
No.
Okay, that was my dad.
Mum came on an Italian ship. Dad came on a ship called the Fair Sea.
That brings up the obvious question. Why did they come here?
For a better opportunity. Kalymnos was hit hard. Some people were hit harder than others. So they had to leave for a better opportunity. And like many people at the time, others went to Germany, others America, others South Africa, Canada, whatever. We decided on Australia. My late Uncle Con spearheaded the Melas family. He came out in the late 50s. And by 1962, they were all here, lock, stock and barrel. Papu, Yaya, and 8 kids. And exactly the same story on my mum's side. I've only got one uncle that really didn't stay in Australia. Although he did come, didn't stay very long.
Right.
So one out of 15 kids.
Wow, 15 kids.
Yeah. So Dad was the 6th of 8.
Yeah.
Mum is the 4th of 7. Only Theo Dionisi didn't stay long in Australia.
Wow.
But both sets of parents. So my paternal and maternal grandparents are in Botany, and my maternal grandmother's parents are in Botany.
Yeah, crazy.
The Spanoses.
There you go, Spanos. Is that another Kalymnian surname?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a common name like Melas, but it's not unique to Kalymnos. But there's a few.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Kalymnians in Australia as well, like
There's
Melbourne, but in particular Darwin. I did some reading on
huge,
Darwin. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Again, I've got some stats for you if you want to hear them.
People love
There
to.
is between 15 and 20,000 residents of Darwin had a Greek connection. 80% of
The
that
majority,
were Kalymnian. And Darwin at the moment is 150,000 people. So if you take 80% of 20,000, it equates to about 10% of the population of Darwin is Kalymnian.
That's incredible, isn't it?
That's huge.
And
Unbelievable.
To think that, I guess for a few reasons they went to Darwin. I mean, I remember our association sent a letter to, I don't personally remember, but I know of this happening because we've got archives of this, sent a letter to the Charitos brothers and to Mr. N. Paspalis from the famous Paspali Pearls brand. And this was a letter that they'd written.
Are they Kalymnian Paspali Pearls?
I don't believe they
or
are.
Kazis.
I don't know where they're from, but they were obviously a presence and a force to be reckoned with even back then in Darwin. And this was a letter that was written in 1954 that I'm referencing, requesting that they sponsor expert Kalymnian divers wanting to migrate to Australia in search for a better life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and benefiting not only the Kalymnians and the, from Kalymnos, but obviously the Australian businesses and industries here at the time. And obviously they then stayed on and became instrumental in the rebuild of Darwin post-Cyclone Tracy as well.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we talked about that. So I think that was one of the main reasons you think a lot of Kalymnians went up? They're all handy tradespeople and virtually built Darwin, the city, from I think it was 1974.
One of the words that does spring to mind when you think of the Kalymnian people is Kamateros or Kamateri.
Yes.
They are a Kamateri. Shall I translate?
Yeah, translate.
I'm very, very proud in what they do. And, they may not be the best at everything. They may not be the greatest at everything, but they'll give it their best. They'll give it their greatest shot. Yeah. That's the Kalymnian spirit in general. But I guess that same truth can be said about Greece's spirit in general. Yeah. It's not just a Kalymnian thing. It's a Greek thing. You have a crack. Yeah. You give it a good shot. Yeah. And I think that the Kalymnian people at the time, obviously grateful for a better life here in Australia. Yeah. Well, that was presented to them compared to what they were faced with in Greece. Because we speak of times of hardship, and we were talking about the Italian stuff earlier as well, and Italian ships, whatever it is, influences and whatever else. But our history goes way back. But I just remember, 1912. Italian military forces landed in Kalymnos. Mm-hmm. They stated that they were releasing the Kalymnians from the Turks. Yes. Essentially, however, that was not the story. It wasn't liberation. In fact, it was simply...
They just took ownership.
Yeah, an alternation of occupation of forces. Yeah.
So just a bit of background to that. So it was 1911. So the Italians took on the Ottomans.
Yes.
And it took them about a year, but I think they defeated them in Tripoli in Libya. Yep. And part of the deal was they lose the Dodecanese Islands.
Yes.
And the Italians inherit them.
Yes.
So, but then that Castellorizo actually.
Did the Turks hang on to that one? Okay. We'll get on to the Dodecanese anyway. Okay. So that was... Okay,
yeah, so that was
they weren't liberated.
29th of April, in fact, it was, in 1912, when the Italian military forces landed in Kalymnos. Obviously, after the Kalymnians discovered or, realised that this was not an attempt to...
A peaceful occupation.
Yeah, yes. It wasn't even an occupation, really. I mean, it was a takeover. Well, an occupation, that's what it was. But it was meant to be a liberation, rather, from the Ottoman Turks. No, it wasn't. Oh. So they reacted quite vigorously against that effort of Italianation, which in turn provoked the violent reaction of the Italian military forces with beatings, imprisonment and exile. Really? Yeah. Even murders took place, as in a case that we all sort of learnt about and read about in school of Karantonis in the duration of the Stone War in 1935. There were many Kalymnians who also participated in the battalion of the Dodecanesian volunteers during the Greek-Italian War in 1940 that fought at the Albanian front. Among the most important fighters for the release of the Dodecanese was the Kalymnian academic Dr. Skevos Zervos, who passed away in 1966, born in 1875. Following the capitulation of Italy in September 1943, Kalymnos was used as a German base for the occupation of Leros, a fact that caused bombardments from air and sea by Allied forces, enemies of the Germans. It's certainly not an island that has been left alone.
Yeah. Well, they say tough times make tough people.
Yeah.
And that's evident of that, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Too. You know, the poverty and the hunger. I remember Dad telling us stories as well. I remember when he was, because he was old enough to remember the German and Italian occupations. World War II, we're talking. I remember him saying that the Italians were quite nasty towards the kids.
Really?
Yeah. They wouldn't let them eat. They wouldn't let them,
Really?
Yeah, grow stuff in their own land, and they'd come and ravage everything, and they were quite savage towards the locals. And when the Germans came in, they were quite afraid of what the Germans would be like, given that the Italians were so rotten. But in the end, it was a welcome. It was almost like a welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, the German soldiers,
That's
used to give Dad chocolates and give Dad loaves of bread so that he can take back to his mum and his family and things like that. Yeah, the Germans showed a little bit more humane.
It's the opposite of what
That
we've
is a
been hearing.
complete opposite to what was experienced, at least from the stories that my family tells in Gedikida, for example.
Yes.
Where the Italians, they sort of gave the impression they didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And they were just like, look, we're just writing this out.
Yeah.
Let's just get along for this duration so we can get through this kind of thing. So it's very interesting that there was that opposite experience there.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe get Corfu, all those islands were Venetian. There's a bit of an Italian influence. They might have been a bit closer.
Who knows?
Yeah, don't know. But that's fascinating.
But like to your point,
and this is your dad's
I'm not saying
accounts.
it was peaches and cream, roses
by
and all that
no
stuff.
means.
War's
under
war,
the
but I
German
understand.
soldiers' presence. But I'm just saying that it was, if not just as bad, probably just a little bit better than what it was like when the Italians
very
were
interesting.
occupying.
Yeah, wow. Oh, look, maybe should we just take it right back? So, Kalymnos, where does the name come from?
I read that there was some kind of an Italian influence there in that.
I think
name.
there is Kalymnos or
So
something
there
like
is
that.
references all the way back in antiquity. Kalymnos, or the version, or a version of that name, is mentioned in Homer's Iliad. The fleet picked up 30 ships from Kalymnos.
Right.
So it has even more prehistoric beginnings. Archaeological digs have found Neolithic remnants. So I know George has touched on the more modern history, but it does have a rich history dating back all the way to, Neolithic, then more Hellenistic, Roman, Venetian, Knights of Rhodes, and Ottomans, and we've discussed, I think, in depth of what's happened, to Kalymnos in the Ottoman period more forward. But definitely a rich history. You've got me stumped on exactly what the name means. Worth looking up, maybe. But
So Kalos, good something, but here it says good water.
okay.
There you go.
Kalos, good, nice, and Ivna means water, but it could be an ancient name. It also mentioned Diodorus mentioned that Agamemnon had 4 ships. There was a shipwreck nearby as well, so around the Trojan War time. So
I'm going to trust you.
Yeah, well, I'll just trust Google.
Yeah.
it was the Kalymnos Guide to Greek.
We're sure that there's something good in the name.
Exactly. And Dodekani, so does it mean there's 12 main islands?
12 islands, yeah. Dodeka.
Okay, because I've read otherwise.
Oh, there are some small islets which belong to the same group, but the main islands, are 12. And, some of the big names in that group, islands like Rhodes and Kos, even Kastellorizo is in that group. So, the furthermost eastern point of Greece is part of that group.
Yeah.
Patmos.
Is this like a similar situation to how there used to be 9 planets and now there's 8?
Yeah,
Pluto's just
Pluto was part of the Dodecanese. Is that what you're referring to?
Well,
Nick?
from what I read, there's now 15 main islands,
Okay.
and there's 150 little islands or
There would
islets
be,
they call it.
Yeah.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson
just
got involved.
Kalymnos on its own. I mean, that was, before the big earthquake.
Which
There was,
divided.
which was, I think, was in 554 AD.
Is it Tenedos?
Telendos,
exactly
yes,
right.
yeah, and it subsided and sank, and the land in between that did anyway. So now we have Kalymnos, we have Telendos, and we also have Pserimos, which is another little island off Greece, and we claim that as ours.
Is there volcanoes around that area as well?
Is
Or is it just the Santorini?
There's
So
a
obviously
funny joke
I think
about
it's
the
more
volcanoes.
Go on, tell us more.
Here we go.
Go on.
Southeastern coast of Kalymnos is where our tip is, okay?
Southeast.
Southeast coastline, and the tip's there, and it's constantly on fire. And when people, are sort of travelling from Kos over to Kalymnos by boat, tourists will say, "Oh, what's that?" And if there's a Kalymnian on the boat, they'll say, "That's the volcano."
Classic.
It's just
live
burning
volcano.
rubbish.
You got me there.
It's just burning rubbish.
Is that right?
I think there must have been in antiquity, because there's a beautiful boat trip that goes to a few islands around Kalymnos, and there are underwater craters, and you can swim over them, and you can tell the difference in the water temperature as you're swimming over them. So without being a geologist or a geographer, I'm not sure exactly what their names or whatever, but definitely seen those craters. You mentioned those little islands. In Kalymnos' modern history, probably what Kalymnos' most renowned event more recently was in 1996, where one of those little islets, which belonged to the Kalymnian municipality, Imya, was involved in the Imya crisis. So that's part of the Kalymnian group, let's say.
Yeah, right.
So
no one lives there. It was just a rock.
uninhabited.
It's just a rock.
Yeah, it's about 10 acres, 2 little islands, 10 acres, 0 inhabitants. And on Australia Day 1996, there was a crisis there, and Bill Clinton told us to pull our heads in, both sides.
Really?
There was a full naval and military mobilisation. My cousin was there. I said, "What's happening?" He said, "There was a full radio and television blockout. You only got the state news. All men of service age had to report to their base. It was full on. One of the Greek helicopters was shot down. 3 Greek servicemen passed away. There's been some inquiries. There's been a lot of lessons learned."
I mean, am I right in saying that one of the people that was putting flags up on that island were actually from Kalymnos? Were sponge divers or fishermen from the island?
Post 1996
Yes.
or pre?
I would say during that period.
Okay. All I know is that since then, there is a dedicated person living there. We've got like a shepherd, and he's got a little flock there, just to have that
Just
little
a presence.
Yeah.
Right.
But the whole crisis, there was events which led up to that, which I'm not 100% sure on. But on that day, simply speaking, Turkish soldiers went and stood a Turkish flag on one of those 2 islands. Greek intelligence already knew that. So the Greek soldiers took them prisoner.
Oh, they took the Turkish guys.
They had them, They were all,
So this was in January 26.
26. This all unfolded on January 26.
So did it all start? There was a shipwreck nearby, or a Turkish ship, and they said, you're in Turkish waters.
So there were events which led up to that. I'm not sure exactly the details of those events, but in my simple mind, I think it's more to do with EEZ, exclusive economic zone. I think it's all to do with stuff like that. Those islands belong to Greece since the Treaty of Lausanne, 1923, and our neighbours want those borders to be redefined.
Yes.
So I look at it like that.
Okay, so those Turkish soldiers that put the flag up were prisoners now. Did they?
They were prisoners.
What's happened to them now? Did they end up going back?
Greek soldiers radioed back to their seniors and said, what do we do with these guys? I said, stand by. And they kept standing by. And all these orders were going back up the chain until they were told to retreat. And part of the retreat, there was obviously dogfighting happening in the air. It was a full mobilisation. During that retreat, unfortunately, a helicopter was shot at and downed. 3 Greek servicemen died.
Wow.
I mean, I remember this really well. I was quite young. I mean, a little bit younger than most of the guys in the room, but even I remember that. I mean, it was crazy watching, Antenna's news on SBS.
Yeah, it was
every
unheard
day.
of. 2 NATO members.
Yeah.
Crazy almost
stuff.
at war, on the brink.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
And was it Bill Clinton that jumped in?
Bill Clinton jumped in,
and said, both of you back down.
Back off.
So now, post that incident, Did you say a man or a woman, a male or a female is on the island now?
One shepherd, man.
A man. Okay, so there's
And
a bloke on
herd
there.
of goats, I think.
And a herd of goats.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's a
Sounds
common.
promising.
It's a common theme, though, isn't it? There's a lot of these islands where we're getting elderly people,
To like beacons or to man like
or just to put the flag up every morning.
Yeah.
I think Melas talked about it. There's
Yes,
a few
he did.
islands along
Yeah,
that.
Peter
along
did talk
that
about
area.
that.
So,
Yeah, famously the island of Rhodes, just
Yeah, that's
to the
it.
west of Castellorizo, has
Yep.
a lady that lives there. That
well,
does.
she passed away.
She's passed away.
And then now they've got a replacement.
Wasn't it her son or something? Her son or
Or someone
grandson?
else put their
Yeah.
hand up. They said, "Who wants to?" And I'll do it. I think.
Thankless job.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Far out.
So wow. Okay. So it's more than just a rock. There's obviously accommodate. You can stay there.
Oh, they've
obviously.
built a
There's-
very
Little
simple
hut.
accommodation there. Yeah, but I'm
I
not
mean,
sure
it's
if there's.
literally a bloody rock.
I'm not sure if
really.
there's internet.
Yeah.
He might be borrowing Turkish internet.
Yeah,
Who knows?
probably.
There's a
Their
really nice
Wi-Fi.
baraki there, actually. They've just opened it up. It's all they do is Ouzo.
Mate, great Ouzo, they heard.
Awesome.
This guy, I got to say, this guy sells bullshit like that so well.
Oh, it's perfect.
Hey, he's Mr. Kalymnos. What are you
is.
talking about?
I love it.
Yeah.
Look, we're getting serious. I mean,
We are.
Yeah.
the reality is though that Kalymnos is not all about this sort of stuff.
No, absolutely,
absolutely
not.
not.
Culturally, we've got International Diving Festival
Well,
Yeah.
every
speaking
year.
of that,
It's fantastic.
what have you got for us?
Yes,
mate? What's-
please.
What's this?
Well, shit.
Kalymnians never visit friends empty-handed. So here's a little
what have we got
sponge
here,
and shell here.
Wow,
wow.
sponge.
So a sponge.
How good is that?
Okay, Kalymnian sponge.
So this is genuine Kalymnian sponge.
Genuine, my
Did you
friend.
catch this, George? Did you go down and get it for us?
No, not these ones. I
He
normally
picked
get the
them
big
himself.
ones.
He
These are little.
Fantastic.
So
If
what
you've
would you
got some
use
water-
this to clean?
That one there, probably your left cag.
I was going to say, Tom, mate, these guys scrub up quite well,
They
don't they?
do.
Now we know why.
They do,
Polished.
absolutely.
Polished.
So you feel how hard that is? I'm just going to sacrifice this glass of water.
So you just put it in the water.
So it was nice and hard before.
Yeah.
We'll just
So we're wringing it out.
Oh, wow.
Oh shit. Okay.
How soft
So
is that? Feel that.
okay, so that's just been in water for a few seconds.
That's harvested from nature's work. Nature grew that at the seabed.
Mm-hmm.
Kalymnian divers will dive down, collect those. Then there's a whole process in processing.
Oh, so that,
Sponges
it
for
doesn't
them
come out
doesn't
like
come
that.
like that. It's got a membrane around it. It gets stomped. It gets cleaned. It gets washed. It gets trimmed.
Is it alive? Is it a living
Yes.
It
thing?
was alive.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was a living organism.
Okay, and then you clean it to this.
Yes.
And how deep do you go to get these things?
Okay. Historically, when sort of sponge diving was done more naturally, obviously the depths were only at the capacity of the human lungs. Okay? So
So we're talking about 6 to 10 feet.
skin diving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
10 metres or feet?
Feet.
Feet, okay, which is what? 2.5, 3, 4 metres.
They'd carry their,
probably
they'd hold their breath for as long as they possibly could.
Yeah.
Harvest as much as they possibly could. They'd carry simply a knife, maybe if they had
net.
flippers, that would be great.
Yeah,
but
weight
most
belt.
of them didn't.
Goggles.
Weight belt if they were going deeper.
Yeah.
Goggles, no. And a net. Then later on, so when my papu, for example, my mum's dad, he was a sponge fisherman, diver. He used to go in the full stoli, the full, the
Scafandro.
the scafandro, which is with the helmet.
Okay.
And
it's like a scuba diving outfit.
It is.
It's like the brass helmet.
the brass
Exactly.
helmet. That's exactly
Because
right.
that's one of the logos for one of the associations or something, isn't
yes.
it?
Absolutely.
Wow.
That mechanism meant that diving sort of evolved from something that was very organic, like skin diving. The captain would be, on the side of the boat with this, tube in the
Yep.
water with a glass bottom, give the diver a tap and point exactly where they were. They'd go down holding a rock called a skandalopetra, which was attached to a rope. The weight of the rock would help the diver descend.
Oh,
He'd
wow.
do his fishing, and then, 2 tugs or whatever, up they go. The
Fascinating.
invention of the scafandro meant that divers were spending a lot more time down at the seabed, much deeper, much longer, and that.
Hang on a second. So this is a heavy rock attached to a rope.
yeah.
These guys would hang onto this rock and they dive to help them descend quicker.
Yep.
Yes.
They would then find themselves at the seabed.
Pick up as many as they can.
This is before that suit and that big
Yeah.
brass helmet. Then when they were done, or their basket or their net was full, or their lungs were about to explode, then they would grab onto
up.
the rope, and someone on the boat would then drag the rock and the fisherman back up to the surface.
This is where the mafia learnt to help people sleep with the fishes, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all went down with a scandalope.
That's right.
But then as things modernised, unfortunately things didn't get better for the diver. This mechanical type of diving, which hence coined the term mechanicos. Now the divers were called
Sorry,
mechaniki.
just on that, were there many injuries like back then with
then,
jumping
yeah.
off with a
Yeah.
rock?
Yeah.
Absolutely, a lot of guys, sort of
So
went
what,
that
just-
extra depth.
Yeah.
There was a lot of suffocation and stuff like
Wow.
that.
There's a
Come
thing
up and
called
they
the
pass
bends
out.
as well.
That was
so,
more to do with that
Scuba diving.
the
Yeah.
time with the scaphandro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they ascended too quickly,
Yeah, I've
came
heard
back to
about
the
this.
surface too quickly, that could affect
get the
them.
bends. Yeah.
Absolutely. So huge mortality rate. Although the money was good,
Because they call that Kalymnian gold, didn't they? Is that the name?
This is Kalymnian gold, my friend.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's
Oh,
that?
we've got a little jar here. What is that?
That
He's
is.
smiling. I
Oh, we'll
don't
get
like
to that.
this.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
Okay, so
Well, it's
you're-
Kalymnico Meli, just so
Yes,
that you know.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
I thought this was a Kalymnian gold, the
Well,
sponges.
Fair enough. It could.
Maybe
it
not.
was. It. Okay.
So
late 19th century, Kalymnos has now established itself as the powerhouse scene. It is the superpower of
sea sponges.
sea sponge. You look up any Google or any internet driver. Island of the sponge divers. Guaranteed. Kalymnos.
Oh, mate,
100%.
Okay.
I knew that was a
Kalymnos
kid.
enjoyed a per capita wealth which other islands and other parts of Greece and Europe could only dream of. But it came with a lot of risk. It came
Yes.
with a lot of death. It came with a lot of, nitrogen poisoning and the bends. Kalymnian divers thought, this could be my last tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they used to get paid 50% up front.
Wow.
They get tanked, smashed.
Yep.
The cafe and the tavern owner would get their cut first, the family what was left,
Yep.
and then they would go out and they'd only get their second half. The
Wow.
kids
If
and
they
the wives,
survived.
they had to survive on what was left
Yep.
after the taverner got his.
Wow.
Then you'd hope that they'd come back alive.
Yeah.
The parents, wives, kids would hope to see their fathers and brothers, and they'd come back alive.
And they'd be gone for weeks and
Weeks,
months,
if not months.
at a time.
Months.
And then
And it's all around the Kalymno area.
No, absolutely not, Nick.
Oh, I was
there are
gonna
plenty
say.
of Kalymnians buried in North Africa. They used to
Oh,
fish
wow.
all the way down to North Africa.
Okay, got it. So
All-
I thought
even
these sponges.
in the Ionian. These are Mediterranean sponges, guys. They're not Kalymnian sponges.
Great,
Wow.
good. Glad you
Okay.
clarified that.
Okay,
I can talk to my Kalymnian friends.
absolutely.
This would be the equivalent of what's that show? Crab fishing or whatever the hell it is.
Oh yeah.
It'd be the, if there was an old version
I know
of
what
that,
you're
this would
talking
be. I can't remember what the name of the show is, but
Abalone or
see.
something. Abalone.
it is abalone.
One of
yes,
those.
the abalone diving.
one
yeah,
of
like
those,
that,
and
yeah,
then there's another
yeah.
one about crab.
So
and-
they would go everywhere. North Africa.
Absolutely.
And
North,
they-
south, east, west.
Wow.
The whole
So-
Mediterranean.
So they're not predominantly around Mediterranean. They're all North Africa. Would they have them
All
here?
part, the whole Mediterranean.
Okay.
Not just the Aegean.
They just became good at collecting it.
the
Absolutely. They
Kalymnians
would
are
travel.
the people for it.
Well,
Yeah.
anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Apparently,
You can be biased on this on the show.
Okay. Boats would be set up in areas, and they'd be fishing, and they'd see a Kalymnian boat coming, and they'd bring up anchor. There was no point hanging around.
Really?
Yeah. You see a Kalymnian boat, you go somewhere else.
I mean,
Why
it's,
is
it's,
that?
it
Kalymnian
says
Because
something.
they would
It's
then
called
take over.
Gaiki,
The
Yes, the
Gaiki,
Gaiki,
yeah.
of course.
What's the gaiki?
a Kalymnian boat.
The fishing
Okay,
boat.
so if you see gaiki coming, you go.
If you see if you figure out that there's a Kalymnian a boat coming your way with
Yeah.
Kalymnian divers, your harvesting has now diminished.
Okay,
These
so
guys are going to come in and
Well, let's
clean up.
let's just mention quickly the Gaiki. The European Union has been against this bloody boat, and they've actually been actively forcing people. I think they've even been offering incentives to actually cut them up.
That's happening in Kalymnos.
Yes, in favour of.
disgrace.
They talk about how they want to lower the impact of commercial fishing But instead of actually going after the commercial fishers, they're going after the kaikia, the traditional way to do it. What you're saying is it actually is affecting you guys.
Kalymnos's population isn't one where it is a sort of powerhouse in the Mediterranean for fishing. Although there are a lot of Kalymnian fishermen per capita, let's say,
I have heard of a population of 12 to 15,000. By the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard where people have taken that incentive and they've cursed the moment that they've taken that money because they've had to pivot, reinvent, and they've sort of lost. There's been this sharp cut off of this tradition, almost instantaneous.
I mean, it's one of those cultural things that it's the kaiki is something that is culturally so unique to Greece. And the European Union is offering an incentive to cut them up.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
But they're still around. I didn't
They
know
are
what
around.
it was. I had to
Absolutely.
Google it. Mate, they're a common, nice and colourful, cute little looking boat.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like a 2-3 man or 4 man boat sort of thing.
100%. You can't tell me that a
So what are
kaiki
you
is going to
saying?
have more impact.
The EU wants to
than a
get rid of
commercial
them.
fish. Yeah.
What do they want to get rid of them for?
They're saying basically that they affect the level of fish and whatnot available. But instead of targeting commercial fishers and trawlers and whatnot, they're targeting these guys.
Wow.
Which I think is insane.
It is insane.
You guys would know much better than we would.
It is. But you know what? There's so many factors as well that stopped fisheries, the sponge diving rather, in Kalymnos. I think it was early 1900s, wasn't it, Michael, where they had the sponge disease that spread throughout the
that's
Mediterranean?
Right. Yeah, during the 20th century,
Wow,
there was a disease that swept through the Mediterranean, unfortunately affected a lot of the sponge cultures.
Yep.
Which led to sort of Kalymnians abroad ploughing their trade in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And that leads to, places like Tarpon Springs and stuff like that. There's a big Kalymnian contingent in Tarpon Springs.
Yeah.
It's
Really?
Greek town in Florida. The biggest
they was
Greek festival.
settling there as early as 1905.
Kidding.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
And
opening
then-
something there, Michael.
And actually, I've got to mention this. We were growing up as kids, we always used to hear this song called Diddle Da.
Yes.
Mate.
Well,
and
it's a good thing you brought that up, actually, because...
You going to sing it for us? No.
yeah. Oh, diddle-da-da-diddle-da-da. No,
There we go.
seriously.
You got it.
No, because we're talking about the sponge divers, and that... Now, we've heard of when you're doing what's called CPR.
Yes.
CPR.
Yeah, and resuscitating somebody, whatever it is, you've got to do it to the beat of staying alive, right? Yeah, no, seriously. That's an actual fact.
heard
Yeah,
this
I know
before.
it sounds like a
Hang
joke.
on a
But
second.
that's
We should
fact.
ask
Funny,
Andy
every time we say
Pascalides
seriously,
this.
everyone else in the room laughs.
No, this is fact.
So the song Staying
the song-
Alive,
so if
John
you wanna know-
Travolta.
if you want to know what tempo to do it at, what beat to do it at, that's it. Just keep to that. It's the same
Staying alive. Staying alive. Okay.
right. So it's the
You're
same
going to have to
thing.
demonstrate, mate.
Well, here, look, right. So that's the
Go.
chest,
Go,
right?
do it.
So
The
it's
kiss
like-
of life too.
So-
What?
So that's the beat,
And
right?
sing as well.
Staying alive, staying alive.
He's
And
not
that's
going to be
it.
happy until
And
he
when you
starts
do
singing.
that, chances are the person's going to stay alive.
Fantastic. I
We,
never
we
knew
need
that.
we need to cross check this with Andy Pascalides.
How do the Greeks
Yes.
Yeah. So the Greek version of that is Diddle Da.
Well, it's not the Greek version. So what it was is that's the rhythm, the beat, the tempo of Diddle Da is the tempo that they used to pump the oxygen from the top of the boat into the diver's helmet.
Oh, wow.
So again, it was just that was the sort of tempo that you went through or that you followed, and it was Diddle Da. We've got the lyrics of Diddle Da.
Do you really?
I do. I've got them here, and they're very.
So the song was created in the 70s, wasn't it? 1970s by a guy called Bandelis Yinis.
Yes, Guinness.
Guinness. And he wrote it. I think the joke was he had one hand on his oar and the other hand he was just writing the lyrics, and he didn't think much of it.
Possibly.
But it was more to motivate his crew, what I read, make the crew happy. Because it is a happy song. When you hear it,
it is a very happy song,
smiling but laughing.
and it's actually a song that sort of gives people.
It's a feel-good song.
It's a feel-good song, but it also gives them. It boosts them. So in other words, like if you read the lyrics, he's actually saying some really nice things to try to motivate, to try to lift
the crew, because you're going to spend so many months at sea.
Absolutely, and they would all gather
We've
around.
got a photo here.
What's that photo of, Michael?
Guys, I'm just going to hand over another little gift. Sorry, George, to interrupt.
That's all right.
National Geographic publication on
Oh,
Kalymnos.
wow.
I had
National
the page
Geographic
open, a double page,
went to Kalymnos.
just to show the size of the geika that were heading down to North Africa, the courage that these guys had to get. Anyway, this book is fantastic. It's got recipes, guys. I'm sure we're going to talk about.
We love National Geographic.
A little bit of history and stuff like that. But here
We were on
is-
National
We
Geographic.
were on National Geographic.
Who's we?
They quoted us.
Ouzo Talk.
Ouzo Talk.
They quoted
Is that
us.
right?
They did indeed.
Imagine
Wow.
a boat that size.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Sailing out of Kalymnos port, embarking on an expedition which could take them as far as, Benghazi.
Wow.
And it's not a big boat.
Not a big boat.
And
at
there's the guy about to jump in. So
Let's
how
look,
deep? Have a look at that. How deep would that guy go with a steel helmet on?
Oh,
all.
wow.
I'm not sure, but
About-
he would be down
about
there for
60
a while.
feet.
60 feet.
60
Wow.
feet. Yeah.
Which is 20 metres. Yeah,
Conversion
wow.
2.5. Yep. Round about that.
Wow.
And it says here this is at Tarpon Springs, this particular photo. Wow.
That's a great book, guys. I mean, do take the time to read through it
Yeah,
and all
we
that
will.
sort of stuff.
So
It's,
this is the dedication from National
from
Geographic
National
to
Geographic.
Kalymnos.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful.
pretty
You're
big.
going to have to take a photo of it, Tom. We'll post it.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
That's for your library, guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank
guys.
you, mate. We
so
will
legends.
cherish that. Thank you so much. So what we on? We're talking about Diddle Da.
We'll talk about Diddle Da.
There is another version of that song too. I don't know if you've heard it.
I have, yes. I've
does that go?
heard that. I remember singing that when I was just a young kid
How
at
does it
school.
go again?
Oh, here we go.
I'm
can
not going to
sing
be
it.
singing that.
Go
No,
on.
Come
no,
on.
No,
You
no,
can
no,
say
no,
it.
I can't. I've already said one dirty joke today on air.
Hang on, is this a bad version? What's going on? Can you sing it, Nick?
I've got the
YouTube
words
has
now.
a French version.
Really?
Did you know that Marinella
Yeah.
did a version? She recorded it as well. Diddle Da. Not even joking.
Really?
Yeah. Absolute.
I'm not going to say it.
Completely true.
This can't be good.
No, it's funny. Look, it's not a big deal, but
Give us one line. Come on,
it's-
Nick.
the first line is "Enas bustis sto salon."
Da,
go any
da,
further.
diddle da, da. Go. I'll do the diddle da part. Go.
Echimia butsapu megaloni.
Da, da, diddle da, da.
Don't go any further. It's not good for our image.
Taravake. All right, that'll do.
We get the image. Okay.
You get it, you
okay.
get it.
Okay.
Does it say Xehiloni?
Yes, that's
Right.
it.
Oh dear.
Good, yes. No, just checking. I just
Yeah.
wanted to see if I had the same version.
So it's a common thing, and I only heard that recently.
Right.
So I was talking to someone. We're going to do an episode on Kalymnos, and I mentioned Diddle Da, and I said,
Yes.
"Yeah, it's a Kalymnian song." And then he started singing that. I go, "No, that's not the lyrics."
Are those the original lyrics? Really?
Yeah. I go, "Was that it?" I go, "Is it a rude song?" He goes, "No, that's the makeup version. It's a comedy version."
The lyrics are actually very nice.
I'm sure that's probably ubiquitous among the Kalymnian community, right?
It kind of is, yes.
So, Michael, we understand that there's some significance to the watch that you've got there. It's beautiful. Tell us a little bit about it.
Ianos, IANOS, is a Swiss brand, but Greek-inspired, owned by Greek. But the watch is made in Switzerland. They have two dive watches. One of them is called the Mechanikos.
Oh, really?
So it is.
That's what you've got here.
It is a dedication to the Kalymnian divers. You'll see the back of the strap has the texture of a sponge. The hour markers are shaped in a skandalopetra.
Yes.
The minute repeater symbolizes the wheel that used to pump the air down to the divers at the bottom of the sea. Probably hard to see here as well, but on the flange, on the dial, is some poetry. And it's got the lyrics of the song
Diddle
Du Mechanico, actually.
No, I'm joking. It's not the way.
Ή μηχανικός θα γίνω ή στην άμμο θα απομείνω.
Oh, wow.
Και αν πεθάνω μην με κλάψεις μες στην άμμο. na methapsis.
Wow. Beautiful.
Translate that, Tom.
I don't think I can
George-
right now
George
after
can translate.
after that many I've had
Where did
about
you read
7.
that?
It is
Just read it
etched,
again.
It is etched into the flange of that dial. Okay, η μηχανικός θα γίνω ή στην άμμο θα απομείνω. I'll either be a diver or I'll remain on the sand.
Yes.
On the sandbed, yeah.
But if I die, I want you to bury me
In the sand.
in the sand.
Yeah, wow.
If I die, don't weep for me, just bury me in the sand.
Oh, there it is there. Wow.
That's beautiful.
The first diving model doesn't have a date function, but the Mechanicos does because they were out for a long time, and it symbolises, and that date is on 12, the most prime position, up high. So it symbolises the yearning for the diver to go back home. So he'd count down the days.
So how does that make
weight.
you feel to have that as something, from your island?
Limited edition, 300 pieces. I've got one. My sons have one. I got the number which sort of symbolises my maternal grandfather's birthday, number 25. It's nice to think about Papu Nikoli, who was a sponge diver.
Wow.
So,
name.
as soon as I saw it, I had to be one of the 300.
Unbelievable.
And my sons are part of that 300 as well.
Wow.
So both boys have got one.
Both boys have got one, yeah.
What a beautiful connection that is.
It's pretty cool, isn't
It
it?
is cool.
Far out.
It is cool.
And it's good weight too. It's quite heavy.
Yeah, Swiss made.
It's a beautiful
Keeps time
watch.
well.
What's the company?
Ianos.
Ianos.
Ianos is the Greek god for new beginnings. Hence, the term January comes from it. Ianuarios. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Fantastic.
I love that stuff. Fantastic.
You'll try it on, boys?
Yeah, Nick wants to try it on.
Yeah.
Well, look, while Nick's trying that on, I mean, we need to start talking a little bit more about the cultural side of the island because
Perfect.
amazing traditions come out of the island, particularly when it comes to, let's say, the more bizarre foods.
Great segue.
Yeah, I know. Let's be honest. I mean, a few years ago, it's got to be 15 years ago now, Andrew Zimmern from Bizarre Foods visited the island, and it was one of the more memorable episodes of that show on Bizarre Foods, where the first thing that that springs to mind is when he went to effectively a cafeteria or a taverna, whatever you want to call it. It was a hole in the wall place where the guy just had the octopus just hanging out in the cage outside. He had 1 square foot of carvuna, and he would be doing these really, really impressive dishes, whether it was the tapodi or
I know the
boiled
cooking.
Oh, do you really? Amazing.
It's
And
amazing.
the boiled ink sacks.
Yes.
Unbelievable stuff.
Yep.
I mean, Nick and I were talking about this the other day. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. And one of the scenes on that episode of Kalymnos where Andrew's on the boat.
Yes.
And they catch some sea squirts or kanjavoy. We call them fuskes.
Fuskes, yes.
Okay, you can eat them fresh.
Yep.
But as the fishermen did back in the day when they were on the boat to help preserve their fuskes, they would create spinalo.
Yes.
Now, we've got a little
We'll need a fork.
spinalo salad here for you guys.
I really didn't expect this to happen.
Oh, no.
I really didn't.
When you invite Kalymnians, you've got to be prepared for
What do we
more than
need? A
just
fork?
chat.
Can we use that knife?
So we've got spinalo, we've got some fresco psomaki.
Beautiful.
The spinalo is best served with some extra virgin Greek, extra virgin olive oil.
Of course.
A little bit of onion, diced onion, which we've also brought, and some lemon, and a squeeze of lemon.
And we need to mention that Andrew Zimmern's description of this dish was it's like a fish's ass.
It's like
dipped
eating
in
a
iodine.
fish's
In
ass
iodine.
dipped in iodine.
Okay, I had to get up to get a plate. What have I missed? So what is this?
Fork would be great.
A fork.
hang
Okay.
on.
Off you go again, Nick. Come on. Make yourself useful. Come on.
Okay, so what we've got here is a little salatitsa, spinalo, as George described. He's been kind enough also to have some nice fresh bread, a great accompaniment. So
I've got to
serving
ask
suggestion is, you put a little bit of the fusca on the bread and you would eat
Beautiful.
it together.
So I've got to ask you, do you guys like this?
Hey. This is serious Kalymnian credibility.
Okay, we're having.
Okay.
What do we have?
Okay.
Fusca.
We're having a fusca.
It's called
It's called
spinalo.
spinalo.
And what is it again?
Okay, so
It
it's
comes
effectively
from a fusca.
yeah.
A fusca is
A
lamb?
a
Conjovoy.
conjovoy.
It's like an oyster, but it has a leathery shell.
Okay, so maybe you should prepare it for us.
No,
Give us the full experience.
full experience.
What's
of,
it called
of
again?
Spignalo.
This doesn't make for good radio, I'm not sure, but here I am. So I've got a nice little slice of bread. I'm just grabbing a piece of Spignalo out of the bowl. I'm going to dip my bread in a little bit first.
That's great commentary.
Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of Spignalo, a little bit of onion as well.
Is it a bit like the sea urchin?
It's similar.
spiky?
Kind of is. It's
It's just what's inside
Okay,
the sea urchin?
it's
No.
I'm going to
really.
take that back, George. It's
not.
It's unlike anything you've ever tasted. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay, and it's only in
just
colour.
trying to
Let me
sort of
take a quick photo of that.
play it down for him a little bit. Now, guys,
Mate,
whilst you
the way you guys are smiling.
when you taste it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just video record your faces
Oh, fuck. Here we go.
because I really need
My
to get
fingers.
this.
Oh, is
Okay,
this-
here we go.
All right.
You going to have it first? Yeah,
Why
good.
not?
Yeah.
Hey, if it's good,
No, serve it to
on-
the boys. Serve it to the boys. Serve it to the boys.
They think that we're not going to eat it, George.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I'm not going
Yeah,
to eat
okay.
something
and
that
we'll,
I
we'll
would.
see.
All right, 1 second.
Okay, yeah, all right. Took a backward seat.
Backward step.
Smiling, he's still breathing, he's still alive.
I'm going in for another dip, guys.
He's going,
You are.
I'm going
another
for another
dip.
dip.
Okay,
All delicious.
so Spignalo, one down,
Okay, well,
is alive. So
I want
think
to.
we're
I want to
good.
be
We're
next.
good.
I want to be next
There you
because
go.
let
the
me
bowl.
be honest. Why don't you prepare it for me
Prepare
so,
it
I,
for
so
you.
I get the proper
Maybe
experience.
prepare two while you're at it.
Okay, I'm going to.
I don't want you to turn around and say, "Oh, you didn't put enough," or something like that.
Spignalo, all right, here we go.
I want to see what it's really like.
Should we kill it with another shot of Tickle?
This
Well,
is
I'm ready to
great
go.
Ouzo Mezze, boys. This is great.
Well, this is why I want to
It's
try it.
perfect.
You've got to have it with us.
So this is. Hang on. Does it need onion or is it?
It's in
Got a bit
there.
of onion
It's
on
in,
there.
it's in there. Okay, wonderful. So we're having a smell.
Don't smell.
It smells great.
Sorry for laughing, guys.
He's squinting. Uh-oh.
I like that.
Okay.
Funny story.
Very good.
Funny story.
I think I get the feeling
I really like
there's going
that.
to be more to this
We've
story.
got a token
Tom.
Kalymnian.
That's beautiful.
He's an islander, so maybe
You
it's
can
an
now
islander
tell your
thing.
Kalymnian buddies, I've had Spignalo, mate. I reckon
Dude,
you
I
can
really
get
like that.
Two, you can get. I reckon you can get 2 bites on there for you, Nick. Come on.
Is it Spignalo because it makes your head spin?
Spignalo.
Nick, I reckon you're going to like it too, mate.
Okay. I like seafood.
There you go.
Okay.
I don't agree with Simmons.
He would have had it fresh. He would have had it straight out of
Yeah.
Out of the shell.
We've now prepared it into like a salad
Yeah.
style with a bit of lemon juice, some good olive oil.
Mate, I would have that. I'd happily have that every episode.
What do you think, Nick?
Nick's squinting a little bit.
Not sure.
It's an odd taste. It's all right. I think the olive oil, the vinegar, and the onion
Yeah.
masks it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work. It's an odd taste. It's not bad.
Я вот excellent
George,
That is good.
you
I
are.
really like that.
It's nice.
That's
It's nice.
beautiful.
It really is nice. I
Well,
know it's
now
an
you know
acquired
why
taste.
My wife was so
but it's
upset that I
beautiful.
said, I'm going to take the Spignalo. Who are you taking it to? Oh, guys that I've never met.
Okay, all right. Let's be honest now, right? If you heard Andrew Zimmons' description of that,
Yes.
It's,
you wouldn't be eating
it's-
it.
it's-
Most people would not
it's
be
not
trying
tempting,
that
is
out.
it?
No,
That's
it's
right.
not.
Look, I've had people describe it as it's fish dipped in. Thank you. Fish dipped in petroleum.
Okay. I can
But-
sort of taste that.
Yeah, and I
It's like
I
a
get
synthetic
it.
taste.
I get it. It is an acquired taste. The first time I had it, I thought I'd never have it again. But
Did you have it like that, or did you have it raw?
like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make us weird that we like this?
No.
I actually like it too. I don't
yeah.
mind it. I'm happy to have more.
I was a child when I tasted it. So
Yeah.
you can just imagine giving this to a child.
I want more.
It's not like Macca's, is it?
Yeah, no. I mean, this. Okay, you would put this sort of dish in the same sort of realm. I mean, if you're part of the younger generation, you're putting it in the realm of horta,
Bamyes.
bamyet, stakofisi, and get up, for example. You know, that sort of stuff. Mate, that's fantastic.
good. Well, guys, there's a little bit of bread left. There's some
I'm
oil.
in.
There's some of the brine. You can just go dip
I'm
it
in.
Just go
put
for
it
it.
in. Mate.
I mean, all those who have the opportunity to taste Spignalo,
That was yummy.
definitely
Mate, that was
give
really
it a go.
good.
That was yummy.
So it's like a sea urchin-y type. Sits at the bottom of the sea.
Look up Kunjavoi. Cunjevoi.
Now, a couple of other things that the Kalymnians are famous for is what Michael is now opening up. Have a whiff of that. Tell me what you think it is. Now, some of you may have...
So Kunjavoi, sea
some of you may have smelled
So it
this
looks
before
like
or seen
a
it
herb.
before. Yeah?
I mean, it's almost like a rigani, but I can't put my finger on it. I mean, there's
So it
a
looks like
rigani
rigani.
type
Look.
of
That's for you
taste
guys
to it,
keep,
but it's not
actually.
green.
That's for you guys to keep.
Thank you.
Now, what you do with
It is
this
like rigani.
is, for example, if you're going to put it on a salad, have you heard of a mermizeli salad before? Have you ever heard of that? Okay, I'll explain that
It
in a minute.
smells like rigani. Is it rigani? What
you
is
just,
It's thribi.
It's called, we call it thribi, some people call it thrubi. So this is, again, a specialty in Kalymnos. You put it on your fava. If you ever have fava, it goes well on fava. It goes beautifully on fava.
beans?
Salads?
On what, sorry?
Salads?
On your salads, any kind of salad. Doesn't have to just be mermizelia. That's a Kalymnian salad.
yeah.
A mermizeli, by the way, is a bit like a darkos salad.
Oh, beautiful.
It's got that crusty
Tomato and crusty
barley,
hard bread.
yeah,
Oh, yes. Barley rusks.
rusks and things like
Beautiful.
that. But we've got a Kalymniki kulura, which again is a little bit different to darkos kulura that they use. And all you put in there is again some onion, feta, tomato. You can put aguria in there if you like. Olive oil, salt, pepper. You're done. And obviously thribi.
So would you use that on things that you would put on, stiskara, for example?
You can
Absolutely great for
Absolutely.
marinating. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Because that's the first thing that
You've
comes
got
to
to rub
mind.
it as well. Don't just
Yeah.
put a
Yeah.
whole. Rub it.
You can't. Yeah, don't just. What you got to do is you got to thripsy it in
Yes.
your hands.
So rub it.
Rub it
in your
Yep.
hand, fine it.
Get it really fine and dusty, and put and spread it
Marinate in your
on
meat.
anything that it is.
Because
Now,
I can
you
see
put
that
on
really
your
going on
souvlakia,
octopus.
on htapodia,
Oh, yeah.
on calamaria, on brizoles, on arni. Oh my god!
Lamb, frijoles, sausages.
Mate, I'm going to Kalymnos
Fantastic.
next.
Yeah.
You guys have
100%.
got good food. What
Yeah,
else
we
you
were
got?
talking about gold, Kalymnian gold.
Kalymnian gold.
And now
Ah, yes.
this here that Michael's holding is called Kalymniko Meli.
Okay.
Now,
Is
let
this
me
the-
just explain a couple of things to you
Kalymnian
guys.
honey.
Kalymnian honey.
Fimarisio.
That's
Okay.
what I was going to explain. That the bees in Kalymnos, they feed off
Time.
a lot of time, thimari. So it's thimarisio meli. So apart from it tasting extraordinarily beautiful, like yummy,
Yep.
it's so good for your health.
Yes.
Okay,
Do I need to ask how you brought this into the country?
through customs,
Properly.
Thea Customs, Thea Customs.
Thank you. Okay, let's
Yeah.
have a smell.
That is
Okay,
beautiful.
so it smells... I mean,
my
it smells
God.
like honey.
And this is for you guys to keep.
Yeah. Now put that in your tea, put that on your toast, do whatever you want with it. It's
Wow.
you
Oh,
just
wow.
lather it
On
all
your
over your
gloves.
body and just lick it off each other if
Holy
you like.
shit.
It's fine. It's Kalymnico Meli. Anything goes with it.
Kalymnian gold. Thank you,
It
boys.
is beautiful.
I'm going to lick that off your chest, George.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. But this is the kind of
That's
thing
brilliant.
that Kalymnos is known for. In fact, it's so known that apart from, the diving festivals that we have every year in Kalymnos, and we've also got the departure and the return of the Sponge Divers Festival, the rock climbing festival as well,
yeah.
International Rock Climbing Festival. They come from far and wide. We've got the celebration of the tsabuna, which is a tsabuna is an instrument that is a Kalymnian instrument.
Is that like the
It's like a
bagpipe?
bagpipe.
Yeah,
It's like
right,
a bagpipe.
right.
Yep.
What's your emblem on the?
That's a lira. That's a Kalymniki lira.
That's a lira. Okay. It's a harp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But we've also got the Honey Festival, guys.
Shit.
Now, the Honey Festival it's huge in Kalymnos because of its medicinal powers, because of the fact that it's thimarisio, because that it's like no other kind of honey that you will have from any other region or part of
is
Greece
very
or the
unique.
world. It is unique. But, so everybody thinks of Kalymnos and they think of Sfougara, they think
Sponges.
of Nichanikos, they think of, rock climbing these days as well. But the culinary things are huge in Kalymnos. Like we've got, in terms of food, a thing that we make which we call muri. We make it during Easter time. And It's basically stuffed goat or lamb.
Okay.
That's slow cooked in the furno,
Yes.
which is normally a stone furno, for hours, 12
Sorry, a
hours.
stuffed goat or lamb.
Stuffed with rice and chicken
Oh,
livers.
yeah.
So you're talking about a whole goat
Now
or
you're talking
chopped
Yes,
up?
we are.
A whole goat.
Whole goat stuffed. Or lamb. Lamb is
we do that here.
lamb is the go-to, but goat is
Makes you salivate.
what a
So
lot
what
of
they
people
put in it? Rice,
rice, herbs,
Some of this
chicken
stuff.
livers, some of that
Oh,
stuff.
man. You guys are doing a great job selling this place, by the way.
You are.
I'm going to move on to metamucil. Sorry, because
I've
sorry,
never
go on,
had
Michael.
I was going to say that, typically in Greece, when you think Easter, you think of all, the rows and rows of goats and lamb
Yep.
on the souvles. It's not totally uncommon for a few Kalymnian families to do that as well. But traditionally, typically, it's muri.
Yeah, wow.
So a lot of even a dozen families could have their muri, their tin, with their stuffed lamb or goat, in with 10 other or 11, 12 other families in that community oven.
I challenge
So we don't do
you- I
that in the
challenge
West,
you
do we?
to
We don't stuff our lamb and goats.
No, we
Go
don't.
We do it here in Sydney.
Go to a Kalymnian household, even a modern one, okay, here in Sydney. And if you don't find a furno in the oven, na mu tripisis τη μύτη. Sorry, a furno in the backyard,
I got
rather.
what you mean.
Sorry.
So if you don't have a outdoor oven,
They have an outdoor oven. So my brother, for example, my brother Peter,
yeah.
specifically made this oven so that he can do his paschaliatico lamb.
So muri. Muri is a
muri.
whole stuffed goat
Yes.
or lamb.
In a
Yes.
tin.
In
a
in
tin.
a clay pot. Some sort of a
So
cooking
it's not
vessel.
a rotisserie. It's
No,
not baked.
absolutely. It gets
baked,
covered.
yeah.
So you need to finagle this whole animal into this pot, basically.
Yeah.
That's already stuffed, essentially.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And like Michael was
love it.
saying, there are, for those who don't have an oven in their backyard, they take it to the person that they know who does have an oven. And chances are
like myself.
they will have an oven.
Yeah.
So,
So you got one, Michael.
No, my sister has one.
So this is a
Okay.
community
And my
thing as
father-in-law
well.
has one as well.
Oh,
So
there
I
you
get to
go.
pick.
he
Now,
takes
okay,
one
what
to his
difference-
sister, he takes the goat to his sister, the lamb to his father-in-law.
And is there a difference? I mean, this thing's in a clay pot, right? Is it sealed
Either
completely?
clay or tin.
Or
Okay.
metal, yeah.
Hypothetically, does it become a case of my sister's one is better than the
Yeah.
other?
Well,
Do you guys compete with your
this is what we
always.
do. So all of the
Love it.
people that put their lamb in the oven that's at my sister's place,
Yeah.
we'll all go there the night before. So this is before we go to church on a Saturday.
Oh, what was that?
That was Siri.
Sorry. And, we sort of have a bit of mezedaki, some ouzo and stuff like that. And about 8 o'clock, the oven's now ready to be, we sort of clear out all of the unburnt charcoal. It's now, I don't know how many degrees the oven has been, warmed up to. In go all the tins.
Yep.
And they're just those 20
So I'm having a look. So it's 20. It's like a 20-liter olive oil tin.
olive tins.
Okay,
you
so
need-
it's one of those, like a lata, basically.
So you shove it in.
Right.
It's actually.
And then you fill the
The cavity.
It's not
cavity with
lengthways. It's actually height.
Yeah.
It's-
that's it, opened up.
And those
it's like a
standard ones are
lefty
about
core.
18-litre drums, basically.
Yes, the drums. That's
Yeah.
exactly what they are, yeah.
So as soon
look
as
at
we put everything in and
That's
we
a good
seal the
morning.
door, maybe have another drink.
Not murni, muri.
Oh, muri.
He was thinking something else.
Yeah.
Sorry, muri. It's the Cipro kick.
No.
Muri.
And then
Isn't muri like a face?
Muri, it's OUOU.
See, when you first
It's
said
a
it,
muuri. Muuri.
Like you got to start muri.
Yeah, it's like muuri.
see, I went completely separate to that, like mura, like berries. I thought maybe you might have been talking berries as
So
well.
muri. Okay, muri.
And we won't open that oven up until the next day.
So do you seal it with like clay or anything like that? Yeah.
Dough.
Could do.
So how long is it in there for?
All night.
All overnight.
Yeah, we'll leave, we'll go to church
It's
for
like 14
the
hours,
Anastasi.
16 hours slow cooked.
Okay.
Wow.
So the
What's the
moment when you
temperature?
crack it,
200.
I don't know.
Not sure.
Okay.
Not sure.
If my brother Pete was here, he'd tell you.
So muri.
Muri.
Not mudni.
all right. So tell us about the moment where you crack that. You're pulling the dough away or the clay or whatever.
Well,
What is the meat like as soon as it comes out of there?
Show us that video again.
It's nuts.
then the next day,
Yeah.
I was going to say, the next day, we'll all go back, And, I'm armed with a spoon and a fork because we'll all try each other's.
Yeah,
And
right.
although we've got a very similar recipe, it's amazing how the
It might be
texture,
the, it might be
there.
the rice that you chose.
Yeah, right.
It might be the chicken livers, how finely you cut them, or how.
Είναι το χέρι.
Είναι και το χέρι. It really is.
Well, how
No,
much
honestly,
fat
it really
you
is.
put?
My
100%
mother
it
was
is.
devastated this Easter that just passed.
Really?
Because I mean, she's getting on in age and she's struggling to do this because it takes a lot of strength
You're
to be
killing
able
me.
to stuff the goat or the lamb, and then to sew it up so it doesn't all just fall out.
Yeah.
You got to stitch it up. And Mum struggles with that now. But she had a crack again this year, and she says to me, Γιώργο μου δοκίμασε το μούρι, she says to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, θα το δοκιμάσω, Mum. This is Easter Sunday at my brother Frank's place.
Yeah.
And he hosted this year.
How many brothers you got?
I've got 25,000. No, I've got two.
I've heard of
Two
names
brothers,
now.
Peter and Frank.
Peter and Frankie.
Yeah. And so...
Esos boides.
And what happened? Yes,
Yeah, the
brothers.
The Kalymnians.
And I actually know Frank's not Kalymnian. He's Simiako. No, I'm joking.
He's the outlier, right?
It's from Simi.
Yeah, from Simi. Well, my papa was from Simi, so the diver that I was mentioning earlier.
Oh, beautiful.
Mum's dad. Anyhow, so what happened was we ended up tasting Mum's moori, and of course, I didn't have the heart to tell her that δεν το είχε πετύχει. I just said, Mum, yeah, εντάξει, ωραίο είναι, εντάξει. And she go, I said to her, then...
So just explain, because we've got a lot of English listeners.
Yeah, sure,
so,
yeah. I said to her, Mum, it's good, don't get me wrong, but it's, it's just not... Just it's missing something, it's lacking something, because you don't have the heart to
You don't
tell her,
Yeah.
She
Poor
didn't.
Mum.
She didn't do a good job this year. Mum, I'm acus, signomi.
Yeah,
I tell you what,
that's
though,
all right.
that is I've never seen that. I mean, Michael just showed us the video. I have never seen that before. That is an absolute revelation. For
That's
me.
the way
This
we
is
do
what I mean.
Easter lamb.
This is so much more to Kalymnos that you guys
is
are aware of.
fascinating chat.
We spoke about the Mirmirizelli salad. You tasted spinalo,
Love it.
okay, which is fantastic.
You guys are getting ticks everywhere.
Now
here, right
we
now.
also do dolma that's very different to the rest of the
Tell
world.
us.
Okay, here we go.
We do fila.
Okay, so
Fila,
do you
hang
call
on.
them dolmades?
No,
for a
we
start?
call them fila.
Fila. Okay, tell
Fila,
us about
which
fila.
means leaves. Yeah.
Yes.
Fila means leaves, obviously.
Means leaves.
We've
Yeah.
heard them called dolmades, yaprakya.
Kupepia, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
We make our so for example, the way that I make fila, because I actually make them myself as well.
Of course you do.
Is the mince has to be the right kind of mince, right? It has to be 50% hirino, 50%
So if you do some pork,
vovino.
Right.
what's that
which is-
veal?
No,
Pork and veal.
pork and beef.
Beef.
Oh, pork and beef. Okay.
And obviously we've got to put the mirovica in there as well.
The herbs.
The herbs and the and things like that.
So the
The
thribi?
bacarica and whatever else.
Put
We
thribi
don't
in
put
there?
thribi in that. No.
Okay. What
One of-
leaves do you use? Where do you get the leaves from?
The vine leaves.
Vine leaves. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same.
Yeah, it's the same leaves, but
You mix your meat. 50,
but we also use lajano. For me,
Okay.
I always use lajanena,
which
which
is
is
like
cabbage
cabbage
leaves.
For little ones or for bigger
Bigger,
ones?
slightly
ones,
bigger, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I guess the trick with the way that we always serve our fila, which
Yep.
is dolmades, is the avgolemono.
Beautiful.
Okay, we always put avgolemono on
Egg
them.
lemon.
Which is an egg and lemon. It's not a soup. We just put a sauce over the top. So
Egg
it's
lemon
not
sauce.
soupy at all.
Okay.
It's actually just thick enough
Yep.
and enough.
Tart enough.
And
Yes.
tart, yeah,
Gives it
just to
that-
cover the thing. But what we do when we're cooking the fila
Yep.
is we put big chunks of hirino in there as well. That's what I do anyway. And
Chunks of pork.
That's good.
pork, yeah. So it's either pork knuckle or pork neck.
Wow.
So
or
that
even pork-
gelatinous quality that you're...
you got
It
the-
just
the meat
it's the
juices.
aromas and all that sort of stuff that and because you slow cook it again, it's one of those meals that my kids literally they fight over it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like no, I want another plate.
What does your missus say about this as well? She's a lucky woman, let me tell you.
Well, she's all for it. I mean, she obviously, hello, she loves it when I cook.
Yeah.
That's
Mate,
how
George,
that's-
this is the best you've done, but can you do better next time?
Yeah. She does. She challenges me from time to time, and I'm up for the challenge.
Yeah.
I consider it foreplay, you know. So, over the kitchen, over the kitchen sink, there's a lot that goes on, I can tell you. But, my wife has her strengths, her dinames, when it comes to her specialties, in terms of cooking and things like that. She's not, but I'm not holding it against her. No, her mother's from Nafplio and her dad's from Kefalonia.
Okay, beautiful. So she's half one of my people.
Yes, that's right.
Great island.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most gorgeous islands I've ever stepped foot on.
You could have done.
And don't get me started on Nafplio.
Yeah,
what
I
a
haven't
place!
been yet. Really,
what
beautiful.
a place!
Okay.
My God,
absolutely stunning.
That's got to be one of my most favourite places in all of
Okay.
Greece. It really is. It's just gorgeous. It's
It
stunning.
used to be the capital.
Yeah, it did. That's right.
And it's only like an hour and a half out of Athens. It's pretty
That's
close.
right. Yeah,
It is stunning.
Yeah, it's about. It's a bit longer than an hour and a half. I think it's probably about an hour and a half from Corinth.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably about 3 to 4 hours from Athens, I'd say. Yeah, and these are the things that we, bring to the table as Greeks.
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
from different regions, from different areas, from
That's what I
different
love.
parts.
We're so diverse as a culture.
We are.
Like going to your area, Tom, Corfu, Ipiro, we've got our different techniques and in way we cook stuff, and you guys and the music.
Do you guys
Blows me
do tapodokeftedes and stuff like that from where you're from?
Octopus meatballs.
Octopus balls.
We do
They're not
bacalhau
meatballs.
keftedes.
Yeah.
Bacalhau,
yum.
obviously, but
You know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I actually had that in Japan.
Tapodokeftedes?
Yeah.
See?
They do it
it's a
there.
Greek invention.
I don't know.
Did you go to the Greek place, Okamoto Makazaki?
I went to Gamoto's house.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Gamoto's got one.
So, I reckon the Japanese have taken a lot from us.
100% that.
I really do.
Their
Even the word
language.
kamikaze. Even the word kamikaze.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a Greek word.
Is it?
Absolutely. It's an ancient Greek word.
Really?
Go on.
What does it mean?
I don't know. But it's Greek. It sounds Greek, therefore it's Greek.
Honestly, though, we had to do Japanese.
Right.
I was really surprised at how similar it was. Phonetically, it's exactly the same.
It is.
It's easy to read.
I reckon Alexander made it all the way to Japan.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
We're not being facetious here. That's genuine.
We'll know for sure if there's a Japanese version of Tirlada.
There is. Michael, please. Don't get me getting...
Is that band?
Don't make me,
Pyramidos?
yes, it is. Honestly,
Guys, you gotta
Japanese
look them
guys,
up.
they're bloody brilliant. And I'm sure they do a version of Tirlada.
Oh my god, those
Hang on.
guys are fantastic. Seriously,
What are they called?
they're called Pyramidos. They do traditional Greek songs.
Are they Greek?
No, they're Japanese.
Pyramidos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just
Mate,
while
you
Alex
will
looking
piss
at
yourself
George, it'll
laughing.
be remiss of us
Yes.
if we didn't talk about the Dinamites.
Oh my God.
tell us.
Please.
So again,
Go
we're
on.
talking cultural
back to
things
Easter.
in Greece and in Kalymnos. Talking also about things that we're probably not that known for until you go there and you get this massive culture shock. If ever you're fortunate enough to be visiting Kalymnos during Megali Evdomada, Holy Week, you'll experience the dinamites that are thrown off the cliff faces.
Okay. Dinamites. Something strength.
Dynamite.
Oh, dynamite.
Dynamite.
Okay.
Literal dynamite.
Dynamite.
Yeah, they're basically
Throw 'em off a
little-
cliff.
Yeah, thrown off cliff faces.
Thousands of rounds.
And-
First round is on Saturday. Proti Anastasi, the first resurrection, as you call it, so Saturday, and then it goes on.
Hang on. So let me get this right. So you got a stick of dynamite. You're throwing it off a cliff. Where does it land?
It
In the
explodes
air
in the air.
usually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
And the noise it makes is not
so
only
it doesn't land. It's like a firecracker in a way.
It's
Well,
a huge. It's
if
an oversized bunga.
Okay.
yeah.
Noise it makes biblical.
Massive. It's massive. I remember sitting in Vathi having lunch with my wife and some family friends, and
Yeah.
I felt this shockwave. We all did. Every hair on my body just rattled. My rib cage, everything just vibrated. It was this massive
Wow.
like that. It's like it just went right through us, and
Good
then all of a
sound
sudden you
effects.
hear this massive bang as well afterwards.
So it's Easter.
This is Easter. We're having a calm
Fair out.
lunch
Unbelievable.
with the family and
So everyone loads up on their dynamite,
on their dinamites. Yeah,
on their dinamites.
yeah.
The
they're
boys
I
are
thought you were
up
going to
there
say
on
that
the
means like vitamins or something, doesn't it?
Nah, Dinamites.
Dinamites,
What was that quote that Anthony Bourdain said when he went to Crete? Meat over an open flame, firearms, and men dancing, or something like that. What do you want?
That's it. That's Kalymnos in a
But
nutshell.
now Dinamitis is also,
That's a step
before, just before the bride enters church.
Dynamite?
Yeah, the brothers give their buddies a call on the phone, and
Dynamite.
2 or 3 go off.
You're
You are
joking.
christening your kids just before the speeches at the reception.
That's
Two or
fantastic.
I just
3
need to
dynamites.
visualize this a bit more. So there's a guy holding a stick of dynamite. He lights
He
it
lights
up.
it.
How far in
Launches
the
it.
air?
Well, he'll
Like-
be up high.
It's got to be away from people, obviously.
Absolutely.
Okay, and it just goes
There have
up in
been
the
accidents.
air.
There have been some
have been
crazy accidents,
Yeah,
deaths.
tell-
as
oh,
well.
really?
Yeah, deaths. People have died.
So people have run in the way.
But it was worth it.
Well, no.
But sadly, one of the biggest accidents.
never
At
worth
the
it.
funeral of the guys that passed away, his buddies let off more dynamites.
Yeah,
And they ended up.
the irony.
Wow.
The irony behind that.
So the guy
Jeez.
died off then
An explosion.
explosion. His mates lit explosions at his funeral, and then they died from it.
No, they didn't
just
die.
there.
They didn't die. They're just in honour of his life, just
Okay.
to honour him.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know,
They did the
despite
thing
the
that
fact
cost
that
him his life.
Yeah, despite the fact that
Wow.
his life was
Ended with one of
taken
these
from.
things.
What is it about us?
explode.
Like the
We like
Cretans,
fire and
the Cretans love, letting
Fire
off
starters,
guns.
yeah.
I mean, in Getikida, for example, when my wife and I,
you guys chuck everything out the window, clay pots. And
we do that as well. But όταν λογοδώσαμε,
Yeah.
there were, ρίχνανε σμπάρα, so they were, letting off guns and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
What is it about that? Why do we love that shit so much? Is it a guy thing?
I think it probably is more a male thing. But then again, you know what? The females throughout history, if we talk about
Oh,
Greece, I mean,
mate,
geez, I tell
strong
you what,
women.
Oh, yeah.
Adaptises, strong,
100%.
very matriarchal country,
Yeah.
extremely matriarchal country.
Who love explosions?
It stems back from the ancient Greeks. When we've got the goddess of war
Yeah.
is Athena.
Athena, yeah.
And wisdom. One of the two most important things. And the goddess of victory is Nike.
Yeah.
Another female. So the goddess of wine and food and whatever else,
Dionysius?
Artemisia and all this sort of stuff. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know my ancient Greeks that well. But what I'm saying is,
You're not that connected, you're saying, George.
well, I've got direct lineage with Zeus. That's it.
No, I know what you mean. We've had
But
so
you know what I
many
mean? It's a
strong
very
women
matriarchal society.
through- even
It
from
really
the Greek
is.
gods to Bulbulina to
absolutely.
World
Heroines
War II,
everywhere.
Iperotia, there's women taking weapons, ammunition, and all that sort of stuff. You're
Yeah.
right. It's dotted through our history. We've had a lot of strong women. So.
Even our saint that is on top of all saints, Banaya, Banaya,
right.
the mother of God, effectively,
Yeah.
mother
Who
of
are-
Jesus.
Who are the patron saints of Kalymnos?
We have 3.
Very good, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
That's a great
Saint
question.
Nicholas,
Great.
Saint
Nicholas?
Padelemona, and Saint Savas, the new of Kalymnos. We have our own saint. His relics are on a church, in the church.
At Saint
high,
Savas?
yeah,
And is there a
Thank you,
connection with Kalymnos? Did they the
Was he
Saint
from
Savas
there, or-
walk through
Okay.
there, or was there a connection?
There is a connection with Saint Savas, obviously, but Saint Nicholas is the patron saint of sailors as well, if I'm not mistaken. Therefore, there's a maritime connection there.
Yep.
Ayuba
makes
de
sense.
Lemon is an interesting one as well. I'm not 100% sure, but interestingly, the church of Ayuba de Lemon on Kalymnos doesn't have a door.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's right.
So there's
Very good story.
Very good story. Carpenters have tried to install doors, but the next day they go, they'll find it flung off. It's
Wow.
at the bottom of the mountain. Yeah. So tradition has it that the saint or the icon saint wants to see the island where his mother's from.
Obviously, you guys are very much involved in keeping that tradition alive
We do
in
our
New South
best,
Wales, in Sydney, and whatnot. Tell us a little bit about what you do, because there are Kalymnians fucking everywhere, right?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing right here?
Michael?
The association's mission has always been to promote the Greek culture. Help Kalymnians and non-Kalymnians, and wherever they can, however they can. We were formed in 1951.
Wow.
And I suppose back then there was a need to network. That wave of immigrants needed, a friend to speak to, someone to help get a job, fill out a form, stuff like that. And through, their cultural expression, they would sort of, keep up, identity through dancing and, gatherings and celebrating their patron saints and stuff like that. It's sort of gone through the normal stages, what I mean, that all the other associations have gone through. Today, we want to try and keep it as relevant as we can. We do the same sort of thing. We have Greek dancing available to all of our members' kids and non-members. If they want, we don't discriminate there.
And can I just say on that, Michael, we're one of the few associations that offer that for free.
Absolutely, it's important. Yeah,
that is important.
It's important.
And where do they do the dancing at? If people have to reach out to you?
Absolutely, they can reach out to us through our Facebook page. Dancing is on Fridays. It's at Peakhurst. We have a great teacher, Amelia, and there's a real buzz about our dancing group now. Last year we were invited to dance at Glendy in Darwin. You don't have to scroll down far on our page or on the Greek Orthodox community of Darwin's page or on the Glenty page. We're sort of all over that. This year we got invited to the Panegyri in Brisbane. Wow. So they had a great performance.
Well, we heard you guys at Brighton Les Sands, just down the road.
Right.
Yeah, very true.
Cars Park, Burwood, Para. We try and get out there.
Cogra.
The kids love it. Cogra, let's not forget that. Our local parish,
Cyprus Food and Wine Festival.
Absolutely. Even the Cyprus Club invited us out there. We try and do that for free. Because it's something that we need to do. Because with Greek dancing is one of the cornerstones of our culture. We've spoken about food and history and language and that, but dancing. Imagine Greek culture
music
without dancing.
General.
It's crazy. It's almost unthinkable. We have our chorus as well. We do our charity drives. George has got George will probably jump in there and tell me if I forget. We help charities, not just local, but also in Greece. It wasn't that long ago where Greece was, burning up, those massive fires in Athens, very generous donation. I'm not sure if other associations did the same, but I think we chipped in 10K.
Yeah, wow.
To the Hellenic Red Cross.
The Hellenic Red Cross.
Yeah.
And that's just one association.
One association.
Unbelievable.
Children's Cancer, we've worked very closely with OEGA. We've done joint ventures with other associations as well.
We've done schools. We've supported schools in Kalymnos. And one of the ones that's probably the most dearest to me is we recently donated some funds to the University of New South Wales to help with the modern Greek language department.
Oh, wow. So important.
Because modern Greek was going to be taken off the curriculum.
Thanks for bringing that up, George. I forgot.
Yeah. That's okay.
And that was something that actually was taken off the curriculum at Macquarie University earlier this year. So it's very topical.
So again, we're not just doing things for Kalymnos. We're doing things for the greater good, which is Greece in general. And
beautiful.
We've got another fundraiser coming up that we've decided to help, and that's a local one, and that's the Mother Maria of Paris, where they focus on feeding and providing essentials for the homeless in Sydney, and not just Greeks. We were approached and we were asked, is there anything that we can do to help? And, wherever we can, if we can, of course, because it's not always readily available. We're not made of money, unfortunately. I wish we were, because we'd be able to do so much more.
Absolutely.
But I'm of the mindset that says, every little bit counts. I know we hear that all around and a lot, but it's true. Every little bit helps. Every little bit counts. Yeah. And we're not just talking about financial help that we offer. We're talking about cultural help, like Michael said, through Greek dancing and language and whatever else. We've got a debutante ball coming up, guys. First time in 30 years that we're doing a debutante ball. That's in an attempt to invite back young families and stay relevant among our future generations. We want their involvement. We want them to come back home, so to speak. I remember as a kid growing up, we used to have chorus and chorosperides, and that's it. Αυτά ξέραμε.
Yeah.
You know, whereas now we're doing trivia nights. We're doing, you know, the chorus, of course, the yortes. You know, we've got artoklasias, bus trips to patron saints, churches and things like that.
But you had a personal story you were going to talk about when your first time back to Kalymnos.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure.
That might be a great way to end this, actually.
Sure. Well, it was 2005. It was the first time I'd been back to Kalymnos since 1978. 1978, obviously, I don't remember much from that, being 2 years old. The only thing I remember was partying in Mykonos, like, you know, the trapezia, Ouzo, Sabanias, Luludia.
So you remember that?
I remember that part. Only that part.
Most people don't. But
I was 2 years old. So I was peaking bad back then. Anyway. No, so obviously I remember nothing. So 2005, I'm now in Kalymnos with my beautiful wife, and we're walking around, and I felt like I knew every corner of that island, even though I had, as an adult, never stepped foot on that island before in my life. And
so you felt a connection.
There was a massive connection. I knew exactly where to go. I knew where Ayo Nicolao was. I knew where Ayo Stefano was. I knew where Panagai Papadi was. I knew where Therma was. I knew where Borio was. I knew where Vathi was. I just knew every.
So these are beaches,
where these are
churches,
places. These are
places.
Enorias and things like that. It's interesting to note that most of Kalymnos is sort of named after churches. You know, like the region of the church that's within that region. That's what you name. Sort of that's where the name of the suburb comes from. And even though I'd never known Kalymnos from up close, I'd only met it from, you know, afar and as a tourist. Yeah, it felt like I had stepped foot back into my mother's womb almost. You know, it was really grounding for me, and it was really quite emotional to go back there, and especially when I started seeing people who actually looked like me.
Wow.
You know, I remember my wife saying, "Are you related to that guy who served us our first frappe?"
Yeah.
I said, "I may as well be." I said,
Probably.
Jesus, the guy looks exactly like me. You know what I mean? Don't know who he was.
Michael's pissing
But it was, you know, and my family had not stepped foot in Kalymnos, like I said, since 1978.
Yeah.
Dad had migrated from Greece in 1955, and his mates hadn't seen him in all those years. And there we were. It was Holy Week. We'd just finished a church service, and I was walking with a Theo of mine and my wife, and we'd just finished eating some mistissima fagita late at night, Lenten food. I see this door ajar and a little light on inside, and I felt compelled. Some magnetic force and magnetism, whatever it was, just drew me to that door, and I stuck my head inside, and I had a look around, and I didn't notice that there was a guy at a desk doing his chartia. He was getting ready to go to Rhodes the very next day. He was obviously a merchant of sorts. And I just looked around in that shop, and I saw a whole heap of sfugaria. I saw, sponges. I saw a whole heap of handmade kaikia, little ones, of course, for display and things like that.
Like little
boats. And I hear the voice from the man who was in there, who owned the shop, who said to me in a very heavy Kalymnian accent, "Bezmesa," he says to me, "Come inside." And I just said, "Oh, no, the taxi." I said, "It's okay, don't worry about that." I said, "I just thought I'd stick my head in." He says, No, please, come inside. He says, "Come and have a look." I said, "No, it's late." I said, he goes, No. He goes, "I'm going to be here for a while. I'm organising my paperwork. Please, come inside." So I said, "Okay, all right, okay." He was kind of insisting. And so I did. I went inside and I had a look around, and he was showing me all the different things that were on display, and I'm thinking either he wants to make a sale or he's just a really nice guy. And then he says to me, come over here with me, he says. I just want to show you something. And so I did. I followed him towards the back of the store. And he points at this cadro, this photograph that was framed, a big enlarged photograph that was framed. And he says, it was of people who were trimming sfugaria, sponges. They used to use these big salides,
clippers,
and scissors that, to get rid of all the hard bits and things like that, and to shape them and get them ready for sale. And he says, do you know anyone from that photo? He says to me. And I looked closely, and of course, who do I see? My dad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, probably all of about 17, 18 years old, maybe even younger, 16.
I just got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I've heard this story before.
Yeah. And I said to him, I said, yes. I said, Vlopo to pateramo, I said to him.
Yeah.
And he goes, I knew it. He goes, I knew it as soon as I saw your face come in through that door, just peek inside. He says, I knew it. He said, αυτός πρέπει να είναι του Γιάννη του Καράντονη ο γιος, he goes. He must be John Karantonis' son. And of course, that just knocked me for a six.
Wow.
He started telling me all these stories about my dad and how close they were as kids growing up. And even though he'd hadn't seen my dad since Dad had left,
Wow.
his memory was embedded, and he remembered and thought about my dad quite a bit. And that's very much a Kalymnian thing. I'm not saying it doesn't occur in other places of Greece. Of course it does. But Kalymnians are very much like that. It's a very small island. It's a close-knit community. We've all got each other's backs. Yeah, I just think that it's an important... Yeah, I think it's an important story that I wanted to share.
Was your dad alive at that time, or...?
No, he'd passed. Dad had passed away in 1994.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
like he was quite young.
He was young. He was 58, 59 years old. I was only 18.
Yeah.
Reminiscing and all that sort of stuff is good, but more importantly...
That would have spooked you out.
It kind of did freak me out.
And then he's telling all these stories about your dad as an adolescent.
Yeah, I remember your dad. He used to say how, because he was a little bit younger than my dad, he said he used to ask to play with my dad's friends and group of friends, and Dad and all the group of friends would say, no, we'd they didn't want the little kids to play with them. They wanted, like-minded and of the same sort of age. But Dad would be, ας τον να παίξει μαζί μας. He's all right. Let him play.
And something like that would have made the world a difference
for that kid growing up. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. What a story, eh? What a way to end it,
guys. Honestly, just based on the little that we, and it really is just a little taste of what we, of what the island and what your community has to offer. Like, I really want to go. That's honestly what I feel now.
It definitely is worth it.
And I really hope that people listening to this will say, you know what, I am going to go and check it out, because there's so much richness. I mean, everywhere in Greece, but
always,
you now have a small insight into what's available. Whether it's, I want to go and try the spignano, whatever the case is.
Oh, the food, the golden honey, the thirbi that you've just showed us, and the
unbelievable.
What was
it's
the goat thing?
like
The muruni?
No.
Muri?
Don't do everyone's favourite. We still do a good gyros. No?
Yeah, of course we do.
That's
Greece in general.
That's important.
Absolutely.
But we've got some great fragosica. You know what fragosica are, don't you?
Fragosica, yes.
You would, because you're...
I do.
Yeah.
What's that?
So prickly pears.
Prickly pears, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
and
Pavlosica, they're called different things all over the place. But
and Vathi is renowned for its citrus trees.
Yes.
Really?
Like mandarines, portocalias, this, that, the other. It's just amazing, the produce that comes out of there.
Wow.
Visit Kalymnos. That's the big thing.
Yeah,
make sure you visit the place next time you're in Greece, whether it's this summer, next summer, winter, whenever it is.
Yeah.
Visit the place.
You can fly, but what we hear in the Pandofla is better.
Yeah, just
I reckon.
Padlofles are not just for throwing at each other. Use it to get the Kalymnos.
So you might have
That's the message.
Pandofla is actually a thong or a sandal.
A slipper.
A slipper. Australians call it a thong. Americans would probably think of a G-string.
A G-string,
No,
that's right.
not that thong.
Not that kind of thong. All right.
guys, well done. Let's go.
ouzotalk@outlook.com is the email. Follow us on social media at Ouzo Talk and at Ouzo_Talk on Instagram. Nick Athanasiou, George Karantonis, Michael Melas. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you, boys.
Well, boys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
See you next time.
Ακολουθήστε μας στο Soundees, στο Spotify, στο Apple Podcasts και στο Google Podcasts.